Nagaraj Annaiah. Property Playbook Strategies for Smart Living. Hosted by Nagaraj Annaiah, a distinguished realtor and mortgage consultant. This show is your ultimate guide to mastering the art of real estate. Dive into the world of immigration, mortgage solutions, home remodeling, insurance, real estate planning, and the ancient wisdom of Vastu. Elevate your living and make informed decisions with the insights and strategies shared by Nagaraj Annaiah. Stay tuned for an enlightening experience.
Hello, Bay Area. Happy Friday. Welcome to Real Estate Playbook from your own realtor, Nagaraj Annaiah. Today, I'm joined by Ashima from Dugal Law Firm. Hi, Ashima. How are you doing today?
Hi, Nagaraj. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Listeners, we are live today. You can give us a call to our studio line number 408 912 5038. Today, the discussion is all about the immigration, the real estate playbook. Every month, in a month, we have two discussions on the immigration, one on the uh, mortgage, the other one is on the remodeling, on anything on the real estate. This show is all about. You can give us a call to discuss about the immigration. If you have any questions on the EB-1A or anything on the immigration, right, give us a call. We have studio line numbers are 408 912 5038. Ashima, let me start with, it's been a rough month, January 2024, right? So many layoffs like Qualcomm, eBay, SAP. There are so many layoffs happening in around. If you're on an H1B holder, right, what is the alternatives of what they do when the H1B layoffs happens, Ashima?
Yeah, that's a good question. Layoffs have been such a concern and such a problem for especially tech in the Bay Area for more than a year now. Whether you're on an H1B, L1, TN, O1, if you are laid off, all of you are given a 60-day grace period. In that grace period, you can look for another job, change jobs, employers, transfer your H1B, or you can, if you do not want to remain in the US, you can depart, and you have another option, which is the B2 visa.
Okay, B2 visa. Let's touch upon the alternatives you told me, right? Like, these are the, like, find a job is the one alternative. The second is the B2 visa, right? Do you think this 60 days time period, can they file for an EB-1A or any other alternative? Is there any option like that? Just on the curious front on that part.
Sure. EB-1A petition is a pathway to green card, and the individual can submit it at any time. However, submitting it during the grace period doesn't give him or her work authorization.
Got
It
it.
is an approved petition that will lead to a green card. But in order to stay in the US in a legal status and work in the US,
Yeah.
you need a work visa or a visitor status or a student status, a spouse status. You need something.
Got it. Listeners, you are listening to Real Estate Playbook from Nagaraj Annaiah, and we are joined by Ashima from Dugal Law, and we're discussing on the immigration front today. Do give us a call. Our studio line numbers, if you have any question on the immigration or a real estate, this is the best time to utilize. Give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408 912 5038. Ashima, it was a great insights, especially when the job loss happens, right? And I think one of the other thing I want to discuss is when this is the toughest time sometimes when somebody loses their partner. Recently, one of my friend lost, they were in H1B and H4 EAD, and they lost a partner, H1B holder, like due to some family emergency. So in that case, as a partner, the spouse, right, what do they do in this case?
Sure. If the spouse is on an H4 dependent status, loss of your partner can be devastating. I mean, obviously, it's such a loss of your partner, of his life, of disruption to your family. But in addition, you do lose your status because it is connected. in that, if that were to happen, similar to a job loss, you could quickly apply to change your status to a B2. So you can remain in the US, you can wrap up your affairs, decide what you want to do, consult with an immigration attorney. Maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you have an argument for a compelling circumstances EAD. Maybe you can pursue your own pathway to green card, or you can, like I said, the B2 gets you an additional 180 days in the US.
Okay. So this still holds that 60 days grace period for even for the H4 EADs, right? Like, is the same thing applies as H1B?
Yes.
Okay. Listeners, you're listening to Real Estate Playbook, and today we are discussing on the immigration. Do give us a call back if you have any questions on the immigration, and we're discussing about the EB-1A and H1B job losses. And if you are also into that, or like if you have anything on the other things on the immigration front which is going on, do give us a call. Our studio line numbers are a 408-912-5038. Ashima, one thing last time we had discussed on the EB-1A stuff, right? Like the criteria upon. Can we quickly touch upon was the EB-1A criteria for the listeners who are not heard on the last time?
Sure. There are 8 criteria that are relevant to most individuals. I am not going to talk about artists today. So
Okay.
the 8 criteria, I'm just going to summarize. So number 1, leading or critical role in a distinguished organization. Number 2, high salary or total compensation compared to others in your field. Number 3, memberships in an association which, in order to get in, requires achievement, outstanding achievement.
Mhm.
Number 4, judging the work of others. That means you've done some peer review, or you can judge a pitch competition, a hackathon. There's so many options.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, listeners, do give us a call if you have any questions. We are discussing on the EB-1A. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038, and you're listening to Real Estate Playbook.
And we can continue. There are 3 more. Number 5, original scientific or business contributions that you have made to the field. They have to be of major significance. Number 6, if you have published articles in journals or trade publications or major media like a leading newspaper, that's also can get you at least that criteria. Number 7 and 8 are harder to get, but I do have clients, whether they're tech engineers, scientists, other kinds of professionals. There are awards, especially if you are an entrepreneur. If you have received a recognized prize or awards, such as if you're a scientist, you've received funding for your dissertation, your research. If you are an entrepreneur, if you have received a grant from an accelerator or VC funding, that would count. Finally, number 8, the last one, is publish material about you. And that's basically media about you. It can be anywhere in the world, in the US, in India, elsewhere. It can be in online newspapers, print, trade publications. So those are the 8 criteria, and you have to meet a minimum of 3.
Minimum of 3, right? So before discussing about the winning profiles of the engineering or a background, right? So for example, you file for a 3 or 4 criterias, right? But if the 2 criterias doesn't met, what does it happen in that case, Ashima?
Sure. So if you have three or 4 criteria, like you said, and someone applies and USCIS finds that only 2 criteria have been met, they will issue an RFE, a request for evidence, in most cases, and they will challenge that 1 criteria isn't sufficient. Please provide more evidence. So you do have the opportunity to explain, like, for example, if it's the memberships they're finding or the salary, then you can produce additional evidence about the association. about, how your equity perhaps, or your stocks, that are vested, and you can present that. It is, these are hard criteria to meet. Very accomplished people in their careers sometimes cannot meet them because these are specific categories you have to meet. Now, if you think you meet two that are strong, for example, leading or critical role and salary, but you don't, the others are weak, you can spend time, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, to build your profile. And in my office, we do have a list of associations that might be relevant to you. We do have a list of judging events, and we also work with a PR firm in India to get you some media.
Listeners, you are listening to Real Estate Playbook, and we are discussing to Ashima on the immigration, EB-1A, H1B. If you are any one of these things, like you have any questions on the immigration, do give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Anything on the immigration front and the real estate, we are happy to help you out. Ashima, that's very sounds interesting, right? Like, so if RFE means is not the end of the world, right? It is like basically they give you enough number of days so that you can gather more information about the case. Is that my understanding correct?
Typically, you get 12 weeks, correct?
12 weeks. Okay. So if you are like filing on EB-1A, EB-1A is an extraordinary ability. Does it impact if you have an EB-2 which has already filed?
That's a great question, and my clients do ask me that in consultations. A lot of them do have a perm-based I-140 that is approved. That's wonderful, because your priority date has been locked in. You will keep that forever with you, unless, there are some exceptions, like if that I-140 was based on fraud, it could be revoked, but that's usually not the case. And that EB-2 priority date can be transferred up to your EB-1A. So what is the benefit of that? I mean, obviously, if you have an EB-2 priority date that is 2021, let's say, September 2021, and unfortunately, you have suffered a job loss, well, an EB-1A is a self-petition. So you can pursue it yourself. You don't have to be dependent on finding a new employer who will then do a new perm, which takes 2 years, and then an I-140. You can bypass all of that. Now, your priority date of September 2021 will be really helpful, because the EB-1A priority date right now for dates for filing is January 2021. So you are just 9 months away. This is according to the February 2024 visa bulletin.
Okay. So having the EB-2 helps them if they're already I-140 is approved. So basically we can use their priority date for the EB-1A also. So that's help them to backdate, correct?
Correct. It's a much faster process. If in the future their EB-2 priority date were to become current, you can transfer it back to EB-2. So you could have an approved EB-1A and also an approved EB-2.
Okay, listeners, you're listening to Real Estate Playbook from Nagaraj and Annaiah, and today we're discussing with Ashima from a Dugal law firm, where we're discussing about the lot of immigration options. This show is all about for you, so that you can get more information on immigration and the real estate. So if you have any questions, do give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Ashima, when we're discussing about the EB-1A, right? Like, can we touch upon about the any engineering case profile, or like the profile wise, so it can be helpful for the lot of listeners out there.
Yeah, sure.
Successful stories around.
Yes, so that's a good question, because the fields that, if you go to USCIS website, it said the fields are sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I'm an engineer. That does fall under sciences. If
Mhm.
you are product management, falls under business. So you have these options of EB-1A. Now, you, again, because this is a self-petition, you can, work with your lawyer at your company. You can hire your own lawyer as well.
Mhm.
And so I do, because I am based in Silicon Valley, I'm very privileged that I do get clients from large companies, large tech like Google and Salesforce and Tesla. And I win those cases. So you asked about a profile. I like to see at least 3 leading or critical roles. They can be at different companies, or if it's a significant jump, move, like you maybe were a junior engineer, then you became an engineering manager. So that typical engineer working at one of those companies, leading or critical role, I can see them usually being able to show that. We have to show that the impact of your role, if it's critical, is company-wide.
Okay.
They can normally, meet the high salary requirement if you count the stocks, bonuses, all of that can be counted. In the
Mhm.
H1B, you can't count that for prevailing wage, but in EB-1A you can. And a lot of them can also meet, judging of the work of others. They can, if they don't have it right now, they can go out and pursue, local events, online events. If you have a master's degree in the US, what I always tell my
Mhm.
clients is go back to your school and ask them if there are any events where you can serve as a judge. So
Okay.
that's where I start.
One,
Again,
one, one question on the judging, right? Like this judging means like, for example, a lot of companies as the review policies, like for example, they review the codes, they do review the other peers' work, right? Will they consider that as a judging thing, or like how does it count on that part?
sure. So I have counted it and provided that evidence that if your formal job duty is to manage the code and review the code of others, I do provide that documentation. Now, normally when we win that criteria, I like to see quite a bit. I like to see 7 minimum events. So
7 events, okay. Mhm.
that's what I think is a strong case. Now, if you have 4 or 5 other criteria that is strong, and you only have 3 judging events, that's still wonderful. That's still potentially a winning case. So, but when I tell my clients, you have, you're going to invest your time to pursue this category, aim for 7, and it can be done. I had a cybersecurity professional with just a bachelor's degree and 10 years experience, and he joined 5 memberships. He went out and got 12 events, and we won the case. It was a strong case. At the end of it, we got him a PR firm
Mhm.
as well, and got him some media in India. So this can be done. And he also
So
published on
one
blogs.
one
Mhm.
question on that, sorry to interrupt. So the question is number of years of experience. What is the minimum number of years of experience for an engineer do you think they can apply for an EB-1A?
There is no actual minimum number. I've won cases with someone having 5 years. It depends on the quality of what you're doing. I've won cases, again, seasoned, 10 plus years. But let me tell you, the profile of somebody with 5 years experience is that maybe they worked 1 or 2 years in India.
Ah,
Then they got a master's degree. Part of their master's degree, they published. They did research work. They started maybe their own company while in a master's program, and that does happen. It happens everywhere. I'm specifically referring to a client who, went to Georgia Tech, and then he joined a big tech company where he worked for 5 years,
okay.
and And because he had a very high citation count, his research project was in AI and it garnered a lot of attention. He did get some funding for it as well. So, and then of course he had a high salary. So he also joined, memberships, and he also did some judging events. So he met 6 criteria: leading in critical role, high salary, memberships, judge of the work of others, authorship. He just had 3 papers, that's it. But he had such a high citation count, more than 300. He won awards because he had funding. And we also argued original contributions because his AI-based research project was influential in the field because of the citation count, because it was being used by research groups within companies and also within academia. So we were able to build a strong case.
Okay, so a lot of listeners, right, like might be not knowing what is citations. Can we touch upon on the citations so that how to get it in?
Sure. So when someone publishes in a journal or other scholarly, article, then if another, reader or another researcher cites to your work and in their own research project, that's called a citation. And you can go to Google Scholar and find research papers and see the citation count.
That's good. Listeners, you are listening to Real Estate Playbook from from Realtor Nagaraj, and today we're discussing with Ashima on the immigration. We discussed about the EB-1A and H1B job losses. What are the things? Ashima, that's a well thought. And if you have any questions, we have 3 more minutes. You can give us a call at 408-913-5038. And for example, for some reasons you can't give us a call, all these recordings will be uploaded on my YouTube channel, Nagaraj Annaiah, and you can listen to all this podcast, and you can leave your comments in the comment section also. And if you some new topics needs to be discussed, right, do give it in the comment section so that we'll discuss in the coming sessions more about that. For example, if you're interested in a O1 visa or any other on the H1B related or any other things on the immigration front or on the real estate, do leave it on the comment section on the YouTube channel so we can take it up and discuss more on that. It's a great thing on that, especially for the scientist part, right? I think we don't have much time to discuss more about the scientist profile, but coming weeks we'll discuss more on the scientist profile also, Ashima. But EB-1A, does it, one last question on the EB-1A, right? Like for example, if you're working for an Apple or if you're working for a big companies like Nvidia, that alone can be in one criteria, or like how does it? Like working in.
So if you're working in a leading or critical role in one of those, companies, you don't have to be managing a team. If you are doing something that's impactful, like, improving one of their applications, enhancing it, that could count. So that could be one criteria. Absolutely. I like to see at least 3.
Yeah.
So if you have only worked at Apple for, 5 years in a same or similar role, that may not be enough, but you could win salary.
Yeah, I think see a lot of our engineers, right? Like they're working on this big companies, means they're contributing for some very good big technologies. For example, they might be working on self-driving cars, they might be working on any other new technologies. Listeners, thank you so much for joining in today and listening to it. It's a real estate playbook from Nagaraj and Annaiah, and today we discussed about the EB-1A and H1B related. You can watch these recordings on my YouTube channel. Go to the Nagaraj Annaiah's YouTube channel, and you can reach out to me off the later also. You can go directly to nagarajhomes.com and click on a WhatsApp link, and you can directly reach out to me. Thank you, Ashima. And if listeners want to reach out to you directly, can you give out your number? Or what's the best time to call? They can call you.
Sure. So my phone number is 650-569-0333, and my website is duggall.com, DUGGAL law.com.
Yeah, thank you so much for everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Ashima.
Thank you.